Today we're going to talk about being able to multiply and divide fractions. Most of you will find this easier than when we added or subtracted them because they do not require a common denominator. For instance, example 1. We have 3/8 times 1/3. Here you have two options. You could simply multiply across left to right and then reduce your answer, or you can reduce first. That's the method I prefer. I know that 3 and 3 can be reduced. 3 goes into 3 once. 3 goes into 3 once. 1 times 1 is 1. 8 times 1 is 8. Had you not reduced first, you would have said 3 times 1 is 3. 8 times 3 is 24. And then you would have reduced both of them by 3. And you still would have ended up with 1/8. Let's do another one. Number 2. 3 times 7/8. So the first thing we have to do is change this whole number to be a fraction. To make any whole number to a fraction, you simply put it over 1. This time there's nothing to reduce. I can't reduce 3 and 8. I can't reduce 7 and 1. So I'm just going to multiply. 3 times 7 is 21. 1 times 8 is 8. But this is called improper, so I have to divide. Top in, bottom out. 8 goes into 21. 2 times, that's 16, with 5 left over. So my answer is 2 5/8. Let's try one more multiplication. This time I'm going to take 1 1/2 and multiply it by 2 1/3. So the first thing I have to do is change it to an improper fraction. You do that by multiplying your denominator and your whole number and adding your numerator. This has also sometimes been referred to as the Texas method because you have your T and your X. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3 halves, times 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7 thirds. From here, I can multiply across and then reduce, or I can reduce now. 3 goes into 3 once, 3 goes into 3 once. 2 doesn't go into 7 equally, so I can't reduce there. I multiply across. 1 times 7 is 7. 2 times 1 is 2. That's improper. I'm going to turn and divide. Top in, bottom out. 2 goes into 7. 3 times, that's 6, with 1 left over. All right, let's try multiplication. I'm going to take 2/3 and divide it by 5/6. Well, with fractions, you don't actually divide them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep the first number the same, and then you multiply by the reciprocal. Reciprocal is simply a fancy way of saying flip it. Now I have a multiplication problem just like I did before. I would reduce if I could. I can't reduce 2 and 5, but I can reduce 3 and 6. 3 goes in here once, 3 goes in there twice. Now I multiply. 2 times 2 is 4. 1 times 5 is 5. And that is my final answer. All right, one last example. Example 5. I'm going to have 4 1/2 divided by 2 3/4. First thing I have to do is change these to improper. There's that little Texas method again. You're multiplying your whole number by your denominator. That means you have 4 groups of 2 plus 1 more. Means I have 9 halves. I'm not ready to flip it yet, so I'm going to keep the division sign. 2 whole groups of 4 makes 8, plus 3 more is 11. Now I'm ready to flip it. 9 halves, I keep the first one the same, multiply by 4 over 11. I can't reduce 9 and 11, but I can reduce 2 and 4. 2 goes in there once, 2 goes in there twice. I end up with 18/11. But that's improper. I'm going to turn and divide. So I'm going to do top in, bottom out. 11 goes into 18 one time with 7 left over. Always keep your same denominator.